Igniting curiosity across depots, command centers, and beyond. Welcome to your weekly Depot AI Brief, where emerging AI meets mission-ready insights.
Right.
This is episode 25, When Drones Need Depots.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Today we're breaking down exactly how these AI updates impact our four core roles, from the shop floor to the executive suite, and we'll wrap up with key highlights and insights on the commercial tools flashing on our industry radar.
What's fascinating here is that when you look at the intelligence coming in this week, spanning from the 101st Airborne Division all the way to South Korea's military restructuring, we are seeing the physical world violently colliding with the digital one.
Wow, violently colliding.
Yeah, because as uncrewed systems really start to scale across the battlefield, the fundamental mission of the depot is evolving incredibly fast. We're moving from a world purely of metal and grease into, a world of sensors, code, and autonomous payloads.
Okay, so let's unpack this. For the folks turning wrenches, this isn't just fixing a truck anymore, right? It's like being handed a flying supercomputer that's taken some shrapnel.
Exactly.
Let's start right where the mission meets the metal, with our mechanics on the shop floor. We've got a recent exercise from the 101st Airborne where they actively put steel between the soldiers and the breach.
Right. They were really testing the absolute limits of attack drones and UGVs, or unmanned ground vehicles.
Yeah, and if you pair that with the news that South Korea is planning to train its entire military as quote-unquote drone warriors, it paints a pretty wild picture for the future of sustainment.
It does. The sheer volume of these systems is about to skyrocket. We're also seeing the Army Armaments Center developing brand new counter-UAS or unmanned aircraft systems capabilities to fight off these emerging drone threats.
So it's not just our drones, it's the gear to stop their drones.
Precisely. If you're an artisan on the floor right now at places like Corpus Christi Army Depot or CCAD, or working under AMCOM, this means an entirely new class of hardware is going to be rolling through the bay doors.
Meaning more sensors and tech.
Oh, massive influx. Sensors, autonomous payloads, and highly volatile power systems.
And the timeline for these systems hitting the depot floor is shrinking, right? I was reading that the Army is going to open up defense testing ranges that actually mimic the frontline conditions seen in Ukraine. Sounds like they're trying to really compress that feedback loop.
That is the goal, yeah. Faster testing environments mean faster sustainment feedback loops. Defect reports, technical data, field failure lessons, they're all going to arrive much earlier in the equipment life cycle.
But we won't be waiting years to see what broke.
Exactly. And this isn't just in the air either. During the Baltop PS 2026 exercise, we saw a heavy emphasis on unmanned surface vessels working alongside NATO partners.
Out on the water.
Right. The growth of unmanned systems across all domains, air, land, and sea, it all points to a shared depot need for ruggedized electronics repair, data link troubleshooting, and managing really complex battery systems.
But wait, hold on. How do you fix a drone's quote-unquote brain with a wrench? Physically, if you are a mechanic elbow deep in grease, wearing thick gloves in a really loud hangar, how are you interacting with these new digital components?
Well, you don't use the wrench for the brain.
Fair enough.
The physical repair remains crucial, obviously. You still need to torque bolts and replace rotors, but the toolkit has to expand to include digital interfaces. When you, as an artisan, need to quickly parse through rapidly changing diagnostic manuals or technical data for these drones, you can't be flipping through thousands of pages of a physical binder while standing on a gantry.
Right, because by the time the binder's actually printed, the software on the drone has probably been updated, 3 times?
At least. So, in our authorized IL5 environment, which, just to clarify, is the security level for CUI, or controlled unclassified information, you should lean on Ask Sage.
Ask Sage, okay.
Picture ruggedized, approved tablets right there in the day. You can safely query Ask Sage against approved technical documents to instantly pull up specific calibration specs or wiring diagrams for these new autonomous payloads.
Oh, wow. So you just ask it for the wiring diagram.
Yep. Ask Sage uses natural language processing to retrieve the exact paragraph or schematic you need without risking operational security or exposing CUI to commercial networks.
So it's essentially acting as a highly specific digital assistant for the modern technical manual. That's huge.
It really is.
But, if the artisans are the ones fixing the hardware, you analysts out there are the ones drowning the massive waves of data that these new systems and their maintenance cycles generate.
Oh, the data wave is real.
Which brings up a glaring contradiction in the intelligence this week. We have 2 sources covering federal agencies trying to use AI to process data, and they had wildly different results.
Right, the NRC and the CRS.
Yeah. The NRC, or Nuclear Regulatory Commission, used AI and successfully slashed their licensing review times. But the CRS, or Congressional Research Service, reported that less than 3% of their AI results actually met their standards.
3%.
I mean, how can two federal agencies have such wildly different results? Why the huge gap?
Well, it all comes down to the architecture of the environment you put the AI into. The NRC achieved massive cycle time gains because they used a high-control workflow.
Meaning they didn't just let it run wild.
Exactly. They didn't just ask an AI a broad question. They fed it highly structured source documents and gave it clearly defined, narrow decision points while retaining human accountability.
Okay, and the CRS?
The CRS, on the other hand, likely used open-ended queries on unstructured or vast, messy datasets.
It's like throwing a whole filing cabinet into a blender. An LLM, or large language model, is essentially just guessing which shredded word comes next based on probability, right?
That's entirely right.
If you don't give it highly structured, organized folders like the NRC did, it's just going to hallucinate a response from the confetti.
That is a perfect way to visualize the mechanism. To take your blender analogy a step further, an LLM doesn't actually quote-unquote know facts. It recognizes mathematical patterns in text. When the data is unstructured, the mathematical probability of it generating a plausible-sounding but entirely incorrect answer goes way up.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's an article in our sources this week titled, "Stop Automating Inefficiency," and honestly, it is the ultimate warning for any depot analyst listening.
Stop automating inefficiency. I love that.
If you have a broken, unstructured process and you apply AI to it, you don't fix the process. You just generate errors at scale.
So if you're an analyst listening to this, you have to map out the waste in your own workflow, verify your data quality, and define your decision logic before you ever even touch the AI.
Yes, absolutely. We see a great example of this working at the Pentagon, where they just tapped CasePoint's AI products to enhance classified legal operations.
And legal discovery is highly structured, right?
Exactly. You are looking for specific terms, dates, and policy traceability. For our analysts looking to build readiness dashboards, handle exception reporting, or, finally replace those monstrous, complex Excel workflows that have been handed down for 5 years.
We all know those spreadsheets.
Right. You should be utilizing Army Vantage.
So Army Vantage is the go-to for those structured, data-heavy, high-control environments. How exactly does it replace the spreadsheet chaos?
Well, Army Vantage integrates the disparate data sources directly, rather than relying on an analyst to manually export, copy and paste data between spreadsheets. It creates a single, structured, ontological layer.
Oh, that's a game changer.
It is. If you are an analyst, auditing policy, or searching through compliance records, you must ensure you are using these approved tools, but you still have to set up scoring rubrics, sample the AI's outputs, and maintain rigorous human review.
Right. You can't just blindly trust the output.
Definitely not. We are seeing the FAA, or Federal Aviation Administration, awarding new software and AI contracts for air traffic control modernization. That's a perfect parallel for depot aviation sustainment.
Because the stakes are so high.
Yes, they are combining legacy operational data, strict safety constraints, and AI decision support. It proves you can integrate AI into highly regulated environments, but only if the underlying data architecture is sound.
But, having an analyst identify an inefficient workflow is only half the battle.
Yeah.
The real friction happens when a supervisor actually tries to implement an AI assistant to fix it and, manage the humans executing the work.
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah. We've got news about the Pentagon launching an agent network to advance AI-enabled battle management. Plus, there's a broad push across federal agencies to use AI to improve hiring and build workforce skills.
When you hear agent network in the context of battle management, I want every supervisor listening to immediately translate that to depot management.
How so?
Well, an AI agent is very different from a standard LLM chatbot. A chatbot just answers questions. An agent is a system that can take actions and execute multi-step tasks across different software platforms.
Oh, wow. So it actually does things.
Exactly. Soon, supervisors will see approved agent-style assistants that can automatically query a database, summarize a mechanic's task status, flag supply chain blockers in real time, and draft the necessary routing work orders.
Wait, hold on. If a supervisor uses an AI agent to monitor a mechanic's output and task status, doesn't that create a major trust issue on the shop floor?
It definitely can.
Yeah. How do you prevent this from feeling like Big Brother looking over their shoulder?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm turning a wrench, I don't want an algorithm flagging me because a rusted bolt took an extra 20 minutes to drill out.
That is the exact trap supervisors need to avoid. The goal of an AI agent in the depot is not micromanagement. It is removing administrative friction.
Okay, clarify that.
The agent shouldn't be judging the mechanic's speed on a rusted bolt. It should be noticing that the mechanic had to wait 3 days for a replacement part and automatically flagging that supply chain bottleneck so the supervisor can fix it.
Oh, I see. So it's looking for systemic blocks.
Exactly. You have to build trust by showing the team that the AI is there to clear their roadblocks, not critique their labor. Especially with the 101st Airborne testing showing how mixed human-machine workflows are becoming the norm. Supervisors have to prepare their crews for these mixed workflows right now.
So how does a supervisor actually prepare a team for that? We've got new drones rolling in, legacy systems staying active, and a massive shift in technical requirements.
It starts with safety controls around robotic systems on the floor and capturing detailed after-action reports on maintenance issues. But practically speaking, supervisors should be using tools like Copilot or GenAI.mil to conduct rapid skills gap analyses.
Oh, I see. You could use GenAI.mil to securely look at your current team's roster and certifications, cross-reference that with the technical manuals for the new drone systems coming in, and have the AI figure out exactly what training your mechanics need to bridge that gap.
Precisely. You use the AI to map the skills inventory and match the right artisan to the emerging AI-enabled work.
That saves so much time.
It drafts the training plan in seconds, but it still requires your human judgment as a leader to actually implement it and mentor the team.
Right. But none of those tools hit the floor, and none of that training happens unless the folks at the top clear the path and secure the funding.
Very true.
For you executives and commanders listening, you are the ones who have to build a long-term strategy and install the cyber guardrails to make all of this possible. We've got some massive big-picture shifts here.
Huge shifts.
Yeah. The Trump administration's budget supplemental is looking to secure billions for emerging defense tech and munitions. And the Department of Defense just launched the DoW Industrial Base Investment website to improve transparency.
This is where strategy meets the ledger. For depot commanders, these funding shifts are directly relevant to OIB, or Organic Industrial Base Planning.
How does that change the day-to-day for OIBs?
When you see billions of dollars being diverted away from legacy platforms and toward emerging tech and munitions, that completely changes your 10-year workload forecasts. It alters your facilities planning.
Like different physical spaces.
Yeah, you might need fewer heavy engine hoist bays and more clean rooms for avionics. And it puts entirely new pressures on your supply chain. The DoW investment website is a massive signal that strategic communication, vendor risk, and supply chain illumination are under a microscope.
Everything is visible now.
Exactly. The way depots buy AI tools, procure cloud services, and manage small business vendors is fundamentally shifting.
So what does this actually mean for a commander when it comes to oversight? I'm looking at this article title from our sources. Just having a human in the loop is not AI governance.
That's a huge point.
If I'm an executive and a human checking the AI's work isn't enough, what is?
It's a critical distinction. Having a human hit approve on an AI-generated readiness report is often just a rubber stamp. If the human doesn't understand the underlying data or the model's logic, they aren't governing. They are just participating in the automation bias.
So they just assume the machine is right.
Yes. True governance means commanders need clear, designated control owners. They need documented test evidence, defined escalation paths, and immutable audit records before approving AI for operational decisions.
That's a lot more rigorous.
It has to be. And this ties directly into the cyber and physical convergence we are seeing across the battlefield. The Army just established a new branch dedicated to space operations, and there is a massive focus on reducing command post signatures in contested electromagnetic environments.
Basically hiding in the spectrum so you don't get targeted.
Exactly. The systems the depot supports now have to account for emissions discipline and electronic warfare survivability. Cyber controls are no longer just an IT problem. They are a physical mission readiness requirement. Which brings us to the most critical and perhaps most daunting warning for executives this week. The Department of Defense issued a stark warning that the uncertain quantum future presents an existential threat to U.S. military missions.
Wait, okay. I hear the phrase quantum threat thrown around a lot, usually followed by existential.
It's a buzzword, yeah.
But can we break down why it's actually an existential threat to the depot? What is the mechanism here?
The current encryption standards that secure all of our supply chain data our communications, and our CUI rely on incredibly complex mathematical puzzles, specifically prime factorization.
Okay, math puzzles.
Right. It takes traditional computers thousands of years to crack these giant prime numbers. But a sufficiently advanced quantum computer, using something called Shor's algorithm, can solve those puzzles in moments. It skips the traditional brute force guessing game entirely.
Meaning all of our current locks instantly become useless.
Everything, every lock. And that is why CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, just issued zero trust guidance supporting TT 3.0 adoption.
So what's the action item for an executive?
Executives need to understand that zero trust, where every user and device is constantly verified, is the absolute prerequisite for any AI-connected workflow. Migrating to PQC or post-quantum cryptography must go in the depot risk register immediately.
Immediately.
Yes, long-lived sustainment data, operational technology, and weapon system interfaces all need planning for quantum-safe cryptography. If the encryption securing your supply chain data or your AI models is compromised, the physical depot grinds to a halt.
It's a sobering thought, but that's exactly why we do these deep dives, to see around the corners before the threat arrives at the door.
Exactly.
All right, stepping back from the immediate command priorities, let's take a look at what's flashing on the commercial side. Let's move to our industry radar. A quick reminder. The tools we are about to discuss are for home lab or industry awareness only. They are not currently authorized for CUI, controlled and classified information, or depot networks.
Right. So on the commercial side, we are seeing a fascinating tug of war regarding model release controls. OpenAI recently limited the rollout of their advanced GPT 5.6 model after a government request, noting in their communications that such restrictions shouldn't become the norm.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration allowed Anthropic to restore access to their highly advanced Mythos model for select U.S. organizations.
It really highlights how these frontier capabilities are being tightly managed at the national level. The government is carefully deciding who gets the keys to the Ferrari, so to speak.
It does. And for depot planners, this shows how model release controls are going to shape our future vendor dependence.
How so?
Well, if certain models are restricted by the government or selectively released to only specific sectors, it heavily impacts what underlying capabilities eventually make their way into our approved environments like GenAI.mil or Army Vantage.
That makes sense. We're downstream from those decisions.
We are. We're also seeing Anthropic's Claude model starting to win over paid consumers, actively eating into a market that was previously dominated entirely by ChatGPT.
The competition in the commercial sector is fierce.
It is, which is ultimately a good thing because it drives better reasoning capabilities and lower inference costs for the end user.
It's wild how fast the commercial landscape shifts. I mean, one week, a company is the undisputed king, and the next, they are fighting for market share.
Yeah, it changes overnight.
But I want to close on a story from our industry radar that I found incredibly profound, especially for everyone listening right now. Ford recently had to rehire a bunch of their gray-beard engineers. These veteran, highly experienced mechanics and designers who had either retired or been pushed out because their internal AI efforts fell vastly short of expectations.
I saw that. That story is the perfect encapsulation of everything we've discussed today. It highlights the fundamental difference between explicit knowledge and tacit knowledge.
Explicit versus tacit. Unpack that.
Well, AI is an incredibly powerful tool for managing explicit knowledge. It can parse a 10,000-page technical manual in seconds, it can map skills gaps, and it can mathematically optimize supply chains.
But it can't feel the engine block.
Exactly. It lacks tacit knowledge. It takes a quote-unquote gray beard veteran to know that when a specific hydraulic pump vibrates at a certain frequency, or when a rotor assembly makes a subtle whining sound, a seal is about to blow.
You just can't prompt an AI for that.
You cannot capture that in an LLM prompt. Industrial AI still absolutely requires the hard-won, hands-on, multisensory knowledge of veteran mechanics to actually work in the real world.
Because it's not just data.
Right. You cannot pretend that an algorithm replaces decades of shop knowledge. AI scales the explicit data, but it doesn't turn a wrench, and it doesn't have the intuition of an artisan.
From drones on the shop floor to zero-trust networks in the boardroom, the future of the depot relies on blending cutting-edge AI with our greatest asset human expertise. Thanks for joining us. Whether you're turning wrenches in the hangars or crunching numbers for the command team, you are the engine that keeps Army aviation ready. Stay safe, stay innovative, and we'll see you on the next Depot AI Brief.